Hey, this is Cameron, and welcome to the practice log. Or, this isn't really a practice log. Or, well, let me go ahead and say this. This show that I have sore hands, I sort of have like three things that I do, I suppose. There's the reaction log, which is sort of like a subsect of the practice log, which is kind of the main show, but not really anymore, but it used to be the main show. And then I have a third one, which is just like a halfway practice log, which is what you're watching right now, where basically I'm going to talk to you, and we're just going to touch base a little bit, and then I'm going to not practice on camera. I will practice after this though. I just took my pre-workout, which that's kind of where we are in life. I take pre-workout to practice, not to work out. When you're using drugs like that, you kind of have to set priorities in your life, and it's like, what is the priority? Do I want to be like halfway pumped for when I do work out later in the day, or do I want my most amped to be when I am practicing guitar? So, you know, that's going to take like 30 minutes to kick in. Whatever the name of this show is going to be, the talking log. There it is. Hey, welcome to the talking log. Whoa. But yeah, I'm just going to touch base with you. We're just going to communicate a little bit. And I also have a comment question that I want to get into that's sort of related to all the reaction videos I've been putting out, because yeah, those have been pretty interesting. View economy has spoken on that. I think I know what kind of videos I'm going to be putting out going forward. Yeah, other than that, how you doing? How's your practice going? Is all that good? Alright, good. Let's go ahead and jump into this comment. So, this one is posted by Escafanderemotica. Whoa, alright. You posted this on the Jacob Collier, said his name right, reinvents the guitar video. You said, serious question, do you find humility boring? I mean, in the classical guitar world, there have always been haters towards other guitarists and towards any living being. But in my experience, the best guitarists I've been able to interact with are usually the most humble people with the best vibes. That's kind of an interesting point, isn't it? The people who are the best at classical guitar are also the nicest people. I sort of equate that to like the gentle giant. The biggest, toughest looking guy at the bar is like also the nicest guy. Maybe it's like, yeah, because he doesn't have to prove anything, you know? Of course, the mid-tier classical guitarist is going to be all like arrogant and haughty because they have something to prove. Not saying that I'm trying to do that. I'm not trying to make you think that I'm like the best guitar player in the world, because that's like absolutely ridiculous. Like, you've seen other people on this website. Like, I'm literally going to school for classical guitar. I am very much in my advanced student phase right now, which is a fine place to be. To be at a professional level with this instrument, it's like a pretty massive achievement that takes a long time for most people. It seems like sometimes if you're bred to do it, like you kind of get there faster, but even so, we don't really see exactly how much practice goes into that. I think it's easy to assume when we see like child prodigies and stuff that they just like were born that way, but I'm sure they weren't. I'm sure their childhood freaking sucked. At least I'm making the choice to do this. But yeah, that's interesting. Do I find humility boring? Yeah, kind of. I mean, I think however we decide to go through this life of ours, we should expect that whatever we put out there, we should receive back. Like, I'm somebody who wants to like joke around about stuff, especially in the reactions that I do. I've had these observations for like years, and I'm just like saying them now. But I'm also relating them to my like experience being a classical guitar undergrad and just like learning things there. And also just sort of learning like the academic perspective of classical guitar and its view on like other music. And I'm sort of leaning into that a lot too, just because I find humor in that. Now, for some people, that's like a really personal thing, and maybe they've been like made to feel bad about their musical choices that aren't classical by like classical snobby people, and now they get like really upset when I do it jokingly, which that's completely understandable. It's not for everybody what I'm doing here, but I'm just sort of letting you into that insight, or at least like my experience with that insight in like a humorous way, because it is humorous. It's funny seeing like a Strandberg, that headless guitar, for example, in the Jacob Collier video. I could imagine like a crusty classical pedagogue seeing that and thinking like, what is this abomination? Just like an 80-year-old like Segovia type. Like, imagine if you showed that to Segovia. Like, to him it would look like some biblically accurate seraphim guitar. His brain's not even interpreting it as a shape. It's just this weird like blob. It would be similar to us looking at a real headless horseman and just like, how does this work? He has no head. It's like horror. I don't know, I just find that funny. You're hardly going to see them in public doing this kind of thing, and this kind of thing being like making reaction videos. Yeah, I could imagine so. I've never met anybody who's in my position or in a similar position as me who takes guitar so seriously while also making kind of a mockery of the whole thing. And that's just kind of my style. That's been my style like ever since I was a kid. I don't know. I definitely get how that could like rub people the wrong way. You just gotta own what you do and just understand that none of it actually really matters that much. Just have fun. I'm talking about people like David Russell, Brower, Dines. Well, Dines, actually, I mean, if you guys watch that masterclass that I reviewed. He was just kind of mean, you know? Collier is an admirable guy in several ways, regardless of whether the media creates a silly aura of, oh, the Mozart of Generation Z type. We know that that's not the case. Whoa, dude, be careful, man. The Collier fans are gonna come at you for that. He is the Mozart of our generation. Are you kidding me? But we also know that there are undoubtedly interesting and respectable things in his work. There are interesting things in his work. I massively respect him. I've gone through Jacob Collier phases, like listening especially to his first album. It like kind of blew my mind when I first listened to it. I do not stand with anybody in my comment section on that video saying that they don't like Jacob. Any negative thing said about Jacob, I completely disagree with. People calling him like a Nepo baby. Like, why is he a Nepo baby? I don't think his family was rich or anything. His mom was a violin professor. Are you saying he was a Nepo baby because he got like music instruction early on from a violin professor? And I think somebody said his dad was like a famous violinist or something. Like, I've never heard of him. He wasn't like that freaking famous. It just sounds like he came from a super musical family and he was just able to learn music quickly because of that. I mean, I don't think that makes you a Nepo baby. You still have to be interested in music to actually like keep going with that. My mom was an English teacher. Fun fact about me, I can't spell or pronounce anything. I didn't show any interest in like learning English that good, so I didn't. Doesn't really matter what your parents want you to do. My dad was an engineer too. I'm not doing that. I can't do math. Yeah, those are literally like my worst two subjects, math and English. Like I can't do those at all. Unless there's something that I'm missing in the whole Nepo baby thing, I don't think that that has any merit. Yeah, I've seen like his music is soulless. I don't even understand how you can say that. Like, even with his wacky guitar tuning scheme, you can't play spread triads going into inversions of spread triads and like moving around like that without invoking some sort of emotional reaction. Unless you're like tone deaf or something. Like, you don't hear the notes that are being played right now. They're beautiful. What, are his lyrics like not good enough? Like, is he not enough of a poet? He needs to like say something in English, spell it out for you to have some sort of emotional reaction to it. No, just listen to the music. I feel like it's just really easy to hate on him in that way, and I definitely am not. I'm hating on him for stuff that is like irrelevant. Which is, you know, that's kind of my thing. Oh, and you end it. Did you also vote for Trump? No, I didn't. I can see why you think that, though. I come up here and I talk in a particular kind of arrogant way, which I get is annoying, but also this is my show. Like, I need to show some sort of authority when I'm up here. I can't just be up here. And people even get on to me about, like, backtracking and backpedaling a lot. I feel like I don't even do it that much. I do it, like, an appropriate amount to keep it light. But yeah, so even with that, I guess it still comes off as arrogant. That's just the way the world works. You need to just speak unapologetically and just speak with some authority and just freaking let it out there. It's like throwing a bunch of bread in the water and just letting the fish just go crazy. Just let them freak out. Just cast your bread and just don't give an F. Boom, there's the bread. Don't be like, oh, I'll be like a little bit of bread and just see how they react to it. Just like, no, just throw it out there. After like 10 seconds, the fish forget, and then you can throw more bread. And I'm not trying to compare you to fish. That's what it is. When you put something out there, you see the reaction. I do present it in like an arrogant way, but it's also a comedy show, and everything I am saying, there is like truth at the core of it, but I am trying to show it in like an over the top, like kind of snobby perspective, just because I think that that's funny. In your experience, the best guitarists, they're the most humble people with the best vibes. The best guitarists that you're talking about, they are just guitarists. I'm not, nor will I ever be just a guitarist. There's a couple of layers to this thing. Like, obviously, this is all about practicing guitar and like getting better at the guitar. That's the whole like initial purpose of this. But I also have a love of doing this sort of thing. I know that reaction content, like you see a lot of reaction content on YouTube. Personally, I know that this is like, I might be going too far with this. I think that mine's like a little different. I think that I bring something to the table that I don't think very many people are bringing, especially in this space. I'm proud of the reaction videos that I've made. I feel that they're very not boring, and I work hard like editing them meticulously. They're not lazy either. Like a lot of them I refilm, like the Jacob Collier one, I refilm that thing. The Tim Henson one, that was filmed twice. Like I'll actually film them and I'll get all the jokes worked out, and then I'll go through and like do it again and like try to find more stuff. And also just to give them like sort of a more clear like overarching thing. Like I had a video that I reacted to yesterday and I just scrapped it. I'm gonna do it again today. I know how we all feel about reaction videos. They're like kind of the lazy bare bones thing, but I do take them seriously. If they're bad, I'll just scrap them. Like I've scrapped so many bad reaction videos. I put a lot of time into like trying to make them as funny as possible. But yeah, those guitarists that you mentioned, they're just guitarists, and they can afford to be just guitarists because they're like the best in the world. But even something from my teacher in undergrad that he told like the class, something that stuck with me is it's good to to maybe diversify. Because you never know what's going to happen. Even if you do reach that like really high level of performing artist, guitarist, that I believe that I will reach at some point. I mean, we'll see where I'm at after my master's degree. Diversifying. And some of his examples of a diversifying weren't like, oh, well, you play classical. Maybe go into jazz. Because something can happen to you as a guitar player. Like, you can get an injury. You can develop focal dystonia. Something can happen. But if you do that and you're also like maybe a music critic, that was like the example that he gave, that might be kind of a good idea to like be a music critic, which that's not what I'm doing, obviously, but it's something kind of like that. It's just a thing separate from guitar playing. And if something happens to your guitar playing, you're left with like no career after that. This is a performance-based career. We're like athletes, kind of. I know. We're just a group of jocks, really. I'm just kidding. If something happens, what are you gonna do? You know, you got nothing then. You got a bunch of degrees in an instrument that you can't play anymore. But you can still teach, of course, but man, if you don't have like the credibility as like a performer already well established, like obviously if David Russell like couldn't play guitar for whatever reason, you would still want lessons from David Russell. You just know that he knows what he's talking about, of course, right? But from someone like me, like if I can't play guitar anymore, it's just like what's my credibility then? So yeah, I view this as my way of like diversifying too, and it matches my personality. Like, I'm a snarky, sarcastic person, and everyone in my life who deals with me, like, they're all angels and they're great. I have a girlfriend who deals with me. You know, we've only been dating for 6 months, so she might get tired of me and my antics, but so far she hasn't. She seems to actually enjoy it. You gotta find the right people that can handle you too. So yeah, I mean, in short, humility, it's not always my thing. I think I have like a special brand of it that's also mixed with arrogance. And, you know, you get what you get. You can always block my channel if you don't like it. Let's go ahead and wrap it up here. I feel the pre-workout kicking in, so I'm gonna go practice now. But hey, you know, if you made it this far, be sure to subscribe and leave a like. Yeah, it's nice to just talk to you sometimes and just answer some questions. I think I might be doing this because it's easy to make these videos and edit them. It only takes a little bit of time, so I can do these like more daily. But, you know, there's gonna be a couple reactions a week. You know, I like doing that. There's going to be some practice logs where I'm going to play for you. That's all coming up. But, you know, today's a chill day. We're just taking a little breather. Of course, if you want some guitar lessons, feel free to reach out. Slots are filling up. It's getting a little hectic and unmanageable. But just for you, I'll let you in. Why not? Sure. And of course, if you want some clothes, buy the merch. I'm not wearing my merch right now because it's laundry day. There's literally clothes in the laundry as we speak. I forgot to set a timer. I'll get that in a bit. And yeah, alright, well, I'll see you in the next one.